Since disgraced former Prince Andrew's arrest yesterday, are we now finally ready to admit that it wasn't Harry and Meghan? Because me personally, I think that they're owed a huge apology, especially by the British media, because it was never them. They were the scapegoat, a distraction, something loud and messy to point at, while the real monsters stayed protected. Because being honest for 1 second, if you knew this man was around, would you feel your children were safe? Because I wouldn't, not for 1 second. This man was using taxpayer money, traveling abroad, moving through elite circles and abusing women and children with his predator best friend. And the monarchy knew. They didn't just miss it, they protected him. The Queen made sure that he never faced consequences while she was alive. She paid his victim millions, and she never addressed the Epstein files once. Not once. And what did Harry and Meghan do? Nothing illegal, nothing criminal, nothing abusive. They broke tradition, they spoke up, they got their kids the hell away from that institution like good parents do. And for that, they were dragged, vilified, turned into the villains of the story, not the literal predator hiding behind palace walls, not the institution that closed ranks around him. Harry and Meghan didn't ruin the monarchy, they exposed how rotten it already was by leaving. It was never Harry and Meghan, it was always the monarchy.
What do you think your sister would have thought about what happened today?
I don't even know if I could say that on public television, to be honest with you. But the reality is that today would have been a really strong day for vindication for her, but also for her survivor sisters. And I know that, he wasn't arrested in the sense of direct correlation to the allegations with sexual assault against Virginia. But the reality is that these are direct ties to Epstein and how this infrastructure was built. I know what she would say. She would say, you know what happened. And I know what happened, and only one of us is telling the truth, and I know that's me. Mm-hmm. And that so famously was said by her before, and it just resonates with me all day today.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Amanda, when you see that photo of Andrew leaving after he was being released from custody, I mean, he just looks shocked in that image. I mean, it's really hard to even describe it. But when you see that picture, something that obviously it's not a position most people are used to seeing anyone be in, but much less a royal family member. What goes through your mind?
I imagine he would be shocked. I think one of the things that Virginia had stated so clearly is he thought it was his entitlement, right? And he had been protected and shielded by his royalty and his position for so long. I don't believe he even knew that this day would come, that he would actually be arrested. And so when I see him in that position, sweating, which we know apparently at one period in time he couldn't do, I think he's sweating now.
What's a government secret between friends, right? We take government corruption more seriously than assault of underage girls. This is about the crimes that we actually take seriously. When I first saw him get arrested, I was like, oh, he's getting arrested for Virginia Giuffre. And then I read that it was it's that he emailed this. I'm glad he's getting it, but when is someone going to get held accountable for the crimes against women and girls?
We're not used to seeing things happen to these men. There's been a lot of correlations in terms of family court system. Often nothing happens. Maybe there's a chance we can actually see justice for this.
You know what? I probably emailed a document I'm not supposed to email. Would you care if Andrew was emailing British documents to Jeffrey Epstein? I don't fucking care. Go ahead.
Thanks for tuning in to the new Nancy Guthrie Network, where we all talk about nothing else besides Nancy Guthrie. The weather, we could talk about that, but we would rather talk about Nancy. Because where is Nancy? And, there's 460-some thousand missing children in the United States, but Nancy Guthrie. We can only talk about Nancy Guthrie. And, that list and that information dropped about Epstein, we don't need to talk about that because Nancy Guthrie. We're just going to change the network's name to Nancy Guthrie. That is what we're going to cover 24/7. We will talk about nothing else because that is the only thing that matters. Where is Nancy?